Hello, sports fans. Welcome to Super Sports Central. Today, we're going to be going over my Week 4 college football predictions. So last week, I had a record of 16-0, and that brings my record on the season to 54-7. Kicking things off with the one game we have on Friday, that is Nebraska hosting Illinois. So there's been some hype around Nebraska this season, and so far they've lived up to that hype as they're 3-0. But Illinois has also been quietly good. They're also 3-0, and they have wins over Eastern Illinois, Kansas, and Central Michigan. Both teams have been good defensively, as Illinois is allowing 8.7 points per game, while Nebraska is allowing 6.7 points per game. So because both teams' defenses have been so good, I am expecting this to be a lower scoring game, even though both teams' offenses are pretty solid. Nebraska's got the better quarterback in Dylan Raiola, and despite being a true freshman, he has been great for Nebraska so far, and as long as he can protect the football, Nebraska will win their home as well. I'll take Nebraska 23-14. And moving to all the rest of the games, which are on Saturday, beginning with Marshall at Ohio State. So this is a game that shouldn't be that close. Ohio State is outscoring their opponents 108-6 in their first two games. Marshall's offense isn't great, and they won't be able to get much going against a really good Ohio State defense. They're not going to be able to compete with Ohio State, and Ohio State wins easily 49-7. Next game, we got Clemson hosting NC State. So this is an interesting one. NC State was expected to be pretty good, but I don't feel they've lived up to their expectations. As they're 2-1, and their one loss was to Tennessee where they got destroyed, and both their wins were closer than they probably should have been. NC State will be without starting quarterback Grayson McCall, who is injured, so that means true freshman CJ Bailey will get the start, and he now has to face a pretty good Clemson defense, and it won't be an easy first start for CJ Bailey. Clemson's offense put up 66 points the last time they took the field against App State, and they now face an NC State defense that has struggled so far this season, allowing over 30 points a game. I think Clemson will play another good offensive game, and I just don't think NC State has a chance of keeping up with Clemson, especially playing with a backup quarterback. So I'll take Clemson to get the win in a pretty convincing fashion, 34-16. Next game, we got Iowa State hosting Arkansas State. So this is the second straight game for Arkansas State where they're playing a ranked team, as last week they took on Michigan and only lost by 10 points. But Arkansas State doesn't have the greatest offense, and they don't have to face an Iowa State defense that's great, allowing just 11 points a game. Now, the Arkansas State defense is really bad, but they're facing an Iowa State offense that's gotten off to a really slow start, averaging just 20 points a game in their first two games. But I do think Rocco Becht and the Iowa State offense will start to improve as they get more games. But I just think the offense starts to improve, and that starts with this game. Iowa State will have a much better offensive game. They'll hit 30 for the first time this season, and they'll win this game by a score of 30-10. Moving on, we've got Penn State hosting Kent State. So Kent State is terrible. They might be the worst team in the FBS. They're 0-3, which includes a loss to an FCS team, plus last week they lost to Tennessee 71-0, and allowed 66 points in the first half. Now, Penn State's coming off a bye, but in their last time out, they didn't look that good, barely beating Bowling Green. But Penn State's going to look a lot better in this game, and with how bad Kent State is, this game will not even be remotely close. I'm not saying Penn State's going to score 71 points or 66 in the first half, but it's not going to be close, and Penn State wins 52-0. Moving on, we've got Miami, Ohio at Notre Dame. So the last time Notre Dame played a MAC team was 2 weeks ago, and they lost to Northern Illinois 16-14. I don't expect this game to be like that, as Notre Dame appears to have learned their lesson, as last week they destroyed Purdue 66-7. Now, Miami, Ohio's offense is bad, scoring just 11 points a game so far, and they have to face one of the best defenses in the country. The Miami defense is solid, but they struggle to stop the run, and that is going to be a disaster against Notre Dame. Notre Dame is going to do what they should have done against Northern Illinois, and they're going to win big. I've got them dominating 49-3. Next game, we got Michigan hosting USC. So Michigan is making a quarterback change, going from Davis Warren to Alex Orji, but I still don't think that's going to help what has been a really bad passing game, because both quarterbacks aren't that good. But Michigan is averaging just 153 passing yards per game, and they've thrown 6 interceptions, which is second most in the country. Now, the Michigan run game is good, rushing for 176 yards per game, but they're going to need the offense, and specifically the run game, to have a huge game if they want to try to beat USC. As the USC defense has actually been pretty solid, and especially against the run, allowing just 100 rushing yards per game. The USC offense is good, scoring 37.5 points a game, and they face a Michigan defense that I think has gotten off to a very underwhelming start to the season, allowing nearly 20 points a game. Even if the Michigan defense plays great, there's only so much a defense can do. I don't think Michigan's going to be able to score enough. Their defense hasn't been dominant either, and I think USC will win this game by a score of 27-17. Next game, we got UCLA at LSU. So UCLA isn't that good. They're 1-1 after a win over Hawaii before they got destroyed by Indiana. LSU is 2-1 and they're coming off a narrow win over South Carolina. UCLA has been quite bad, and their offense has been horrible, with just 14.5 points per game. They don't face a bad LSU defense, but with how bad the UCLA offense is, I definitely don't see them coming out and putting up 30, even against a bad defense. The UCLA defense also isn't good, allowing 27.5 points a game, and they face a good LSU offense, scoring 33.3 points a game. But UCLA is not good on either side of the ball. Plus, they have to travel to LSU for this game. They don't stand a chance. LSU wins big, 41-13. Next game, we got Georgia Tech at Louisville. So this is actually a sneaky good game, and I really have no idea who's going to win. Both teams have good offenses and have relied heavily on running the football, as Louisville is rushing for 263 yards per game, and Georgia Tech is rushing for 173 yards per game. Both teams are also pretty good defensively overall and against the run. So this is a game that could really go either way. This is one of the most difficult games for me to predict this week. I'm going to take Louisville to get the win. They're the home team. Their offense has put up a little more in terms of point totals, plus their defense is slightly better in that area as well. So I'll take Louisville to get the win, but this game is a true coin flip for me, about as close as it gets. But I'll take Louisville in a very close game, 28-27. Next game, we got Buffalo at Northern Illinois. So Northern Illinois is ranked in the top 25 for the first time since 2013. They're coming off a bye after a huge upset win over Notre Dame. At Northern Illinois, they've been good offensively, especially running the football, as they're running for over 250 yards per game. But Buffalo, they're actually solid against the run, allowing just 113 rushing yards a game. The Northern Illinois defense is also great, allowing just 14.5 points a game, and the big difference here is the Buffalo offense isn't very good. But I think Northern Illinois gets the win behind their defense and run game, and I've got them winning 27-13. Next game, we got Utah at Oklahoma State. So this is another good game, another game where I really have no idea who to pick. Utah quarterback Cam Rising is dealing with a hand injury, and missed last week's game, although he is likely to play in this week's game. Utah's offense relies on the run game, which is great, rushing for 192 yards per game, and they face a Oklahoma State defense that isn't the greatest. Now, where this matchup gets really interesting is a good Oklahoma State offense against a good Utah defense. Oklahoma State's offense is great, scoring 42.7 points per game, and they have a great passing game with 334 passing yards per game. Oklahoma State also has arguably the best running back in the country, Ollie Gordon, but he has gotten off to an incredibly slow start this season, and I don't see him having a big game against a good Utah defense. Now, the Oklahoma State offense matches up against an elite Utah defense that's allowing just 11 points per game and just 143 passing yards per game. But this is a matchup I think that could decide this game. I had concerns about the Oklahoma State offense and quarterback Alan Bowman and his ability to protect the football coming into this season, but he's done a good job as he has just one turnover on the year, but he also hasn't faced a defense like Utah. But this is a game that could truly go either way. I could lean towards Oklahoma State because they are home, but I'm going to take Utah because of their defense. I think they'll win this one in a very close game, 31-24, but that's only if Cam Rising plays. He is expected to, but if Cam Rising doesn't play, then I'll have Oklahoma State 28-19. Next game, we got Vanderbilt at Missouri. So Vanderbilt has actually gotten off to a solid start this season, or at least they did until last week. Because they started off with a big win over Virginia Tech, then they beat an FCS team, but then last week they lost to Georgia State. Missouri's been great this year. They're scoring almost 40 points per game, and they face a defense that's allowing 21 points a game. Then on the other side, the Missouri defense is allowing 7 points a game, but Vanderbilt's offense has actually been pretty good at scoring 40.3 points a game. Now, while Vanderbilt is decent, I don't really think they're going to provide much competition for Missouri, and Missouri will win easily 42-14. Next game, we got Miami at South Florida. Miami's been great. They look like the best team in the ACC so far. Their offense has been insane, scoring 53 points a game, and led by quarterback Cam Ward, who actually leads the country with 11 passing touchdowns. The Miami offense now faces a South Florida defense that's okay, but the last time they played a good offense in Alabama a few weeks ago, they allowed 45 points. I am expecting another big game from the Miami offense, and I think South Florida will score a little bit, but Miami wins big, 49-10. Next game, we got Oklahoma hosting Tennessee. So this is another interesting game. Tennessee has been insane to start the season, outscoring their opponents 191-13 in 3 games. Oklahoma is 3-0, but they've played some close games against Houston and Tulane, and despite being home in this game, I think this is going to be a tough game for the Sooners. Offensively, Oklahoma is scoring 33.7 points per game, which is solid, but they now face a Tennessee defense that has been elite so far this season, allowing just 4.3 points a game. The Oklahoma offensive line is also really bad, which means the Tennessee pass rush is going to have a ton of pressure on Jackson Arnold, and he's going to be playing this game from his back. Now, the Oklahoma defense has been pretty good, allowing just 11.3 points per game, but the Tennessee offense is scoring 63.7 points per game, passing for over 400 yards per game, and running for over 250 yards per game. Tennessee is the better team here on all aspects, offensively, defensively, and it's really not that close, I don't think. Despite this being a top 20 matchup, I really don't think it's going to be that close. I think Tennessee's offense will have a lot of success. Tennessee's defense will hold Oklahoma to a very low point total, and I see this being a very rough first SEC game for Oklahoma. Tennessee wins big, 41-13. Moving on, we've got Bowling Green at Texas A&M. So we don't know who the starting quarterback will be for Texas A&M, as starting quarterback Connor Wegman didn't play last week and is dealing with a shoulder injury. Then if he can't go, it'll be Marcel Reed getting the start, and he started last week against Florida and was pretty good. Now, Bowling Green is a team, they played a really close game against Penn State, and I think they could make things interesting against Texas A&M. But while they could make things interesting, I don't think they will. I think Texas A&M wins pretty easily, 38-10. Next game, we got Ole Miss hosting Georgia Southern. Ole Miss has been insane so far, especially offensively, averaging 692 yards per game and 56 points a game. They now face a bad Georgia Southern defense, allowing 29 points a game and nearly 500 yards of offense per game. So, this Ole Miss offense might finish the game with 1,000 yards and 100 points. Georgia Southern does have a solid offense, but they face an Ole Miss defense that has been great. Ole Miss is going to destroy Georgia Southern. Their offense is going to have an absolute field day. They've already hit 70 points in a game once. I think they'll do it again when Ole Miss wins this game, 77-10. Next game, we got UL Monroe at Texas. So Texas is starting Arch Manning in place of the injured Quinn Ewers. So we will get to see Arch Manning in his first college start. Now, Arch Manning was great for Texas, coming in to relieve Quinn Ewers after his injury last week, and Manning had 5 touchdowns. Texas offense now faces a UL Monroe defense that's been pretty good so far, allowing 10 points a game, but they also haven't faced an offense like Texas. On the flip side, it's the same thing. UL Monroe is a pretty good offense, but I don't think they'll find much success against a good Texas defense. But overall, no Quinn Ewers, no problem. Texas still wins easily, 49-6. And our final game, it is Kansas State at BYU. So this could be a tricky game for Kansas State. They're coming off a dominant win over Arizona, and they need to avoid a letdown. Plus, this is on the road against a BYU team with a good defense. As BYU is allowing just 14 points a game, and they're good against the run, which is what Kansas State wants to do offensively. But BYU also hasn't faced an offense like Kansas State, and then the BYU offense is pretty good, but I don't really think they'll find that much success against a good Kansas State defense. I think this game will be a little closer than it should be, but overall, Kansas State gets the win, 30-21. But those are my Week 4 college football predictions. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, turn notifications so you don't miss any other upcoming videos. I do my best to post as often as possible. Be sure to check out the community tab of my channel, where you guys can vote on who you think will win some of this week's big games. But thank you for watching. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, turn notifications. I do my best to post as often as possible, and I will see you in the next video.